What's up, CineNerds?
I am Jay Pizzle.
And I am Jack Tripper. You'll know why I say that in a little bit.
That guy's Ryan.
I guess I'll go by that today.
And today, well, wait, we didn't even say it. Welcome to CineNerds.
I said, what's up, CineNerds?
Yeah, you didn't say welcome
Jesus.
to CineNerds.
Wait, let's do it again. Go ahead, do it again.
Welcome to
CineNerds. That was horribly cheesy.
So today, I chose one of my favorite horror films, Bride of Chucky.
It was a good watch. I'm not gonna lie.
And I fucking love this movie. I love the whole fucking Chucky series. And my thing, and this is why I chose. I want to say why I chose Bride of Chucky. Not only because it's one of my favorite franchises, one of my favorite horror. It's one of my favorite slasher horror characters. And why I chose this one over 1 through 3. Bride of Chucky for me is when Chucky becomes a universal monster.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Yeah, because Universal distributed.
Yeah, but I
They
think
didn't
you
just
got
they
your
did,
core
but
Universal monsters.
They didn't distribute it the first 3. But when you get Bride of Chucky, Seed of Chucky, you're falling in line with that whole Dracula type thing.
I get what you're going for. Yeah. I hear it. You think of core monsters, the Universal monsters, and I hear those. That's all. But I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. All right. So right off the rip, who the fuck is Martha Stewart? That's the first one. Next one, get off my knife. Like, there's so many good one-liners in this fucking movie. That's unbelievable. It is so good, dude. Leslie, who does the voice of Chucky, is magical in his character and his ownership of this character.
Brad Dourif?
Brad Dourif, sorry.
I say, who's Leslie?
No. Why did I have... No.
Man, you fucked that up.
Did I?
It's Brad Dourif.
Well, for you, I did.
Brad Dourif.
Why do I have... Who the fuck was Leslie?
I have no idea. But you're going to tell me. I want to know who Leslie is
Yeah,
now.
no, what the fuck, Anyways, let's see. Bride of Chucky. We're looking this up real quick, sorry. Brad Dourif. Where did I even get a fucking Leslie?
Is there even a Leslie in the film?
I don't think so. We won't talk about this. Anyways, yeah, Brad Dourif. So, Brad Dourif, while we're saying his name, I will go this far. I will talk, and to give him proper respects, he was in Jungle Fever. He was in a movie which I just got reminded of a few days ago, Millennium, which is insane. Do you remember that movie?
Oh, yeah.
He did the voice of Chucky on SNL, which was interesting. They brought Chucky onto the show. He's in Dune, Night Watch, let's see, Alien Resurrection, Once Upon a Time, Wilford, Fringe, Halloween 1, 2, Pulse, Lord of the Rings. This dude is all over the place, and he's like one of those actors you just don't think about.
You know, there's a couple things in there you left out.
Oh, yeah.
But,
this was just a quick list, and that's a lot for a quick list.
First off, he's been, other than that crappy reboot, Child's Play, we don't count that one in the series because everything else from 1987, 88, whenever Child's Play first came out, to current with the Chucky series, Brad Dourif has voiced Chucky in every film that is actually part of the same franchise, outside of the one that is not part of the franchise. Also, the list of movies that he's been in, I mean, all fantastic movies, but one of my favorite franchises and one of my favorite films of that franchise, Exorcist 3, Brad Dourif was in too.
Okay.
He was the main antagonist that was possessed by the demon in Exorcist 3.
Oh, that's right. Mm-hmm. I remember seeing that face. I remember the look.
Oh, yeah. He's in a lot of stuff. Lord of the Rings.
What was the serial killer's name?
Oh, in Exorcist 3?
No. Serial killer's name that Chucky came from.
Oh, it's, Charles Lee Ray.
Charles Lee Ray. Where the fuck did I get Leslie?
Yeah, his name was not Leslie. It was Charles Lee Ray.
Damn it! I was hoping that was my.
No.
Bring it back.
No, I would have been like, okay, yeah, I would have realized what you meant. But
There's a couple. So to give a little context here too, this out of the movies we selected, I watched this one first, and I watched this before you left for tour, and this is the second time I've ever seen this. Sorry. And so I wrote notes, and I even asked him, I'm like, what does this mean? Why did I reference this? And so some of this I'm going to have him decipher as we go.
So let's just talk about the opening of this movie, because the opening of the movie, you have so much fan service with like throwing little Easter eggs in. Did you catch all that? Okay, so the beginning of the movie starts, and the camera's panning through the police storage area for.
I remember. Okay.
For all the crime scene like evidence locker was what I was looking for. And you see a hockey mask.
Oh, I didn't see all that.
You see a chainsaw. You see Freddy's glove. You see Michael Myers' mask. You see, like, all this little...
I gotta go back and see all that, because I didn't see that.
All that stuff is in there in the very, very beginning.
All right, that could be pretty cool.
And there's also another scene later in the movie where they reference another horror icon.
Well, yeah, Pinhead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, a brutal killing. There's another movie referenced in this. I don't know if you caught it. Natural Born Killers. Mickey and Mallory.
Mickey and Mallory. They say Bonnie and Clyde, Mickey and Mallory.
Yeah. I was very impressed with that, because I feel like a lot of people nowadays don't remember that movie, don't know about that movie, and it's a fucking brilliant...
Oh, Natural Born Killers is actually, it's my favorite movie ever made.
What?
Yes.
Shut up.
No. Seriously, it's my favorite movie
ever
made. Any top...
I didn't know that.
Any top 10 list I have ever put together, Natural Born Killers is my number one film of all time.
I think we need to go back to like episodes 1 or 2 or 3, because you gave your top 10 movies or your top 5 movies.
I picked my top 5 movies for my taste. Some of that influenced some of my personal taste. I've never actually put together a top 5 all time list on this show. So that being said, you already know my number one, and it will be, and it has always been Natural Born Killers.
It wouldn't be in my top 5, but it's definitely up there for me. It's definitely a solid one.
There's something about that film, and even the director's. I love the director's cut version of that too. It's so good. So yeah, all right. Well, let's just dive into Bride of Chucky.
Well, fan service aside, you've got a young Katherine Heigl who is dating a troublesome young man. Her parents are deceased, and her uncle is her guardian. Her uncle is played by, come and knock at our door,
John Ritter.
My reference was Three's Company of the Jack Tripper thing. So John Ritter plays a complete asshole in this, which was not a character for him. He's just always been known as a good guy, and so it was really awesome to see him play this role, take it on, and own it. Mm-hmm. He was such a fuck you, this is my girl protector as an officer, sheriff, not even just an officer. He was the main dude. And he has his deputies all over this dude. He has everyone always on him. He's trying to plant evidence on this dude if it'll get rid of him, and it goes on from there.
Well, and this is the movie that also introduces, whenever you see this cop steal a bag from the evidence locker at the beginning, and he's dropping it off to this person that he's talking to on the phone that has paid him to steal this.
Well, yeah.
And this is where you get introduced. You see a cop get his throat slit. And this is when you get introduced to Tiffany.
Jennifer Tilly,
who is amazing.
She does a good job in this for sure. And before she becomes a doll, because we do get there, her way of seducing, using, anyone that will help her, benefit her, is pretty impressive. She tries to seduce her neighbor, which is Katherine Heigl's boyfriend, the troublesome youth, and that's where that young man's problems begin.
Yeah. So she gets back. She does the whole voodoo spell to try to resurrect. After she actually sews Chucky back together and
she paid the cop. Sorry that we were talking about to give her this doll.
So she sews Chucky up, puts him back together, and does the voodoo ritual to try to resurrect him. And he doesn't move; he doesn't come awake right away. And then you hear a knock on the door. You hear that?
Come and knock on the door.
And who comes in but Alexis Arquette, his character, who is pretending to be a serial killer to impress Tiffany, but he's just faking everything. He's showing her Polaroids of him like covered in blood and shit, like he killed somebody. But she calls him out on his bullshit, and he's just wanting to get laid. It seems like he's wanting to.
And Tiffany is a fangirl for serial killers. So yeah, and the whole trailer. So after she's tried to revive Chucky and she doesn't think it's worked, the whole trailer process while Alexis is there is quite interesting. There's a lot going on. One of my notes I put on here was piercing pillow death.
Yeah.
I go, why would I put that, JP?
He couldn't remember. He couldn't remember. I was like, well, that's Alexis Arquette's death. And he's like, what?
And that's because he literally has his piercings ripped out and then smothered to the pillow. And
Chucky's just sitting on the pillow, and while he's talking to Tiffany, smothering this guy. And he's handcuffed to the bed, and like he can't get loose. So the kills in this are just.
Let's talk about the seance she does to try and revive him and the book she has.
Oh yeah, the Voodoo for Dummies. Yeah,
so good.
So, jump ahead a little bit because this is another little thing I want to know if you picked up on.
Well, the bathtub imagery.
You did.
Bride of
Okay.
Frankenstein, yeah.
You knew where I was going. Universal monster. Just saying. So when she gets pissed off at Chucky because she thought that he was going to propose to her before he died, and she kind of found out that was just some lady's ring that he killed. It just happened to be laying there, and so she locks him in like a baby crib under a table, and he ends up getting loose, and she's taking a bath, and he goes in to stab her, and she kicks him or something, and he bounces around and knocks the TV into the tub, and what's playing on the TV as Tiffany is being electrocuted to death is the Bride of Frankenstein.
Yeah.
I started to say Bride of Chucky. Bride of Frankenstein, which was a very cool nod.
It was. And then from there, though, he brings her back.
He brings her back as the Tiffany doll.
Yeah. So, and then this is where, and I can't remember the kid's name. It's Katherine Heigl's boyfriend in this, but Katherine Heigl's boyfriend, being the neighbor, Jennifer Tilly's character still has Tiffany still has the voice that she had before, so she calls him and says, "Hey, I've got a job for you if you are up for it," and says that she'll give him $1,000 to deliver the 2 dolls to, I forgot what the location is.
It was the cemetery in New Jersey where Charles Lee Ray was buried.
Right. And she said 500 up front, 500 on the flip, and so he finds Katherine Heigl, and since her uncle won't let them be together, he says, "Let's run away. I've got $500 now. I'll get $500 when I deliver this. We'll have money to start. We can start a new life together, essentially." And so they begin this cross-country adventure, but as they're beginning that, not cross-country, but where they're going, as they're beginning this adventure, different things start happening, murders start occurring, and
they kill a deputy, or Chucky and Tiffany kills a deputy that's pulled them over because it's her uncle is trying to keep them from being together still. They actually before that he kills the uncle. He kills the uncle.
So the uncle's trying to plant evidence inside of the van. And when he goes to plant the evidence, Chucky and Tiffany get creative because Tiffany calls him out for having his knife and saying that's not
so 1980s.
Yeah, 1980s. And so is it a nail gun?
No, it's like they rigged these nails into like an airbag or something, and they eject the airbag, and the nails fly out and fly into John Ritter's face, and he falls down, and Chucky looks at him and says, "Huh, that looks familiar," and he looks like Pinhead with the nails in his.
So reference, little throwback,
To Hellraiser. Yep. So there's, like I said, there's little nods to a lot of them throughout the whole movie.
And then they put him, John Ritter's character, in the bench in the van, so he can't be seen. And we go to the next one where there's they stop at like a drive-in.
It's like a little drive-in cafe,
and another deputy dies. There's an explosion, and basically people are accusing Katherine Heigl and her boyfriend of Jade and Jesse of being the next Bonnie and Clyde or Mickey and Mallory, as we pointed out. And they're seeing all the news. They see what's happening. They don't understand what's going on. So they start questioning each other and doubting each other. And that in itself, for me, lies a solid story. Because now you've got these two who are lovers and love each other genuinely. They haven't done anything wrong, but they're both thinking that each other is the guilty party in the murder.
But they love each other, so they don't want to leave them, even though they think each other are killers.
So I mean, it's creative as hell and it's fun.
So from there they get to the hotel. They leave, they get out of there, and they get to the hotel.
Right. Yep.
And that's when Tiffany creatively kills the couple in the that one suite.
So I have a question about those two.
Okay.
So my question is based on the items they had in their room with them, them being there under a false context as well. Do you think they were serial killers, or they were like a Bonnie and Clyde scenario, an actual? And because it seemed like they wanted to kill them almost before everything came their way.
That could be. I've never really thought about it, but yeah, that's a fair assessment.
I was just like, man, that would be interesting if the two serial killers come across
two other serial killers. So. Yeah, she creatively kills them. She throws a champagne bottle up to
the
mirror,
mirrored ceiling,
mirrored ceiling, and the mirror busts onto them and impales all of them,
slices
both of them.
Dices and impales the whole bit.
And then the next morning, they think each other did that one too. They're calling the best friend David, and they're each giving the speech on different phones. Like, "Hey, I've got to get out of this because he's killing people." "Hey, I've got to get out because she's killing people."
Now, fast forward, and is it David?
David,
David comes to them where they're at, and he's with them in the van, believing that neither of them have done this.
Yeah,
they're starting to think, okay, maybe it wasn't either of us, and we're just losing our minds. Something's going on bigger here. Well, David then sees blood underneath the couch cushion,
the little bench, the bench seat.
Did I skip past part 2 of John Ritter?
No.
Okay.
Because John Ritter's character's dead.
No, he pops back up. He's still alive after the nail thing happens, remember? He pops back up for one last little, like, hurrah, and then Chucky stabs him. He's like,
That's
he's
right.
like, old faithful or whatever. Yeah. But either way, there's blood trickling out from underneath this bench in the van, and David sees that. And then he freaks out thinking, okay, one of you is the killer now, and he starts freaking out, only to run out of the van to be hit by a fucking semi-truck.
Yeah, he gets obliterated, explodes from a semi-truck, and they take off. And at that point, that's when they realize that Chucky and Tiffany dolls are actually alive doing the killing.
Because they start talking to him. Yeah, that'd be pretty eye-opening.
And so Chucky says, "We got to change cars." And then next thing you know, it shows them in an RV. And at this point, it doesn't show how they got the RV. You just see Tiffany making dinner, making cookies, being a good little housewife. Then she's opening a pantry, and there's 2 old people been shot in the head that are just in the pantry.
Was there a mural on the side of the RV? Like, was there a logo? Like, maybe like a band on tour or something?
Did it say a killer's
Or
confession?
maybe Chucky's confession.
Did they
I don't know.
confess?
Maybe. No, but we start moving along here. I don't remember between this point though, acquiring the RV and the cemetery.
Well, from there, where they it doesn't show them actually acquire the RV.
Right.
It just shows them
saying them being in it. Sorry.
Yeah.
To the cemetery. Like,
so from here, what happens is she's making cookies, and
that's right.
She gives Chucky a cookie, and he's like, "Oh, thanks, babe," blah blah blah, and the Jesse looks back and sees the dishes, and Tiffany had said something to him at the beginning of the movie about
right.
If a girl cooks for you,
least you can do is dishes.
Least you can do is the dishes. And so he looks over at Chucky and says, "Man, she's a really good cook, but man, she's kind of a slob. Look at all those dishes that are piling up." And then Chucky looks back and is telling her, "Hey, can you start doing some of those dishes?" And she freaks out and starts slinging plates at him. And the girl, she says something to Tiffany that sets her off. So they're playing each of them off to get them mad at each other. And at this point, they actually wreck the RV. She
rolls over the side of the road.
She kicks Tiffany into the oven, and Chucky goes to shoot her. Jesse's character, stops Chucky, and they run off the road and kind of flip, while Tiffany's being cooked in the oven. Is kind of where
she comes out all pretty too.
Oh, she's all burnt up. She's pretty gnarly. And this whole scene, I actually like this scene because it's like the RV is like there's gas pouring everywhere. Jade's character gets out because Jesse's holding the electrical cables, and his feet are getting covered in gas, and he kind of lets it go, and the whole RV explodes. But at this point, Chucky has taken Jade at gunpoint to the cemetery, and you see Tiffany crawling to try to reach her gun, and then you see Jesse step on the gun, or her hand one, but he stops her, picks the gun up, and then he's carrying Tiffany by her hair, just running, chasing Chucky.
I feel like this would have been a great moment for Chucky to throw the big old knife over his shoulder and do a slow motion walk away while the RV blows up.
Oh yeah. No, it'd have been great. And from here, it was actually, they watched it on the news, I think in the RV, that they were exhuming Charles Lee Ray's body
because they found his DNA on the crime scenes.
Yeah, so the crime scene, there's a crime scene person actually at the cemetery digging up Charles Lee Ray's body, which they're going there to get an amulet so they can transfer their bodies to human bodies. And I don't even think we mentioned that, but that's why they're going there. So they get there, they kill the guy that's exhuming the body, and he shoves Jade down there to open it and get the amulet, and it goes through a whole spiel there with that. And
by the way, I had forgotten completely about a fucking amulet until we got to that point.
Yeah.
Didn't even
because it was mentioned that was why they needed to get there, but then after that, it's like they don't talk about the amulet really anymore at all.
So yeah, because like to me, the amulet fucks up everything. So Tiffany, like, she's a doll too. Like, how does that all flow?
Well, what? By
the way, this is one of his favorite franchises as well. So when I ask questions, just because I'm curious, because I don't know some of these things.
The thing is, he transferred Tiffany to the doll, but in order to transfer Tiffany or himself back into a human body, they need the amulet.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That tracks.
So, at this point, Jesse and Tiffany show up, and he's demanding an exchange of Jade, and he'll give Tiffany if you give me Jade. And so they do the old school, you both walk at the same time kind of thing across, and Tiffany looks at Jade and says, "You got a good one," and walks on, and they hug, and then Tiffany goes up basically trying to get a hug, and Chucky just kind of swats her away. And from there,
the division's in stone.
Yeah, it's there. Basically the fight begins between Tiffany and Chucky, and they basically just stab and beat the hell out of each other, and yeah.
I liked this movie. I didn't say love. I liked all the way up until the mini Tiffany bazooka. Where she shoots the fucking seat of Chucky out. The officer. That was a little too much for me, man. It was funny and it works and it made sense, but
well, if you remember, they had sex a day or two earlier, and she says, "Do you got a condom, or do you have a rubber?" He goes, "Tiffany, I'm all rubber."
Yeah. But then. That was the other thing, too. Like, okay, the doll world apparently is different in anatomy. So that took 2 days. It was interesting. So, yeah.
Well, and, they end up, they fight. Chucky kills Tiffany. They end up getting Chucky trapped in his own grave and move the ladder out. The detective shows up, and he sees Chucky screaming and going nuts, and he's like, "Oh, you guys are innocent. What the actual fuck is this?" And she takes his gun and shoots Chucky and kills Chucky. And basically the cop says, "Y'all," calls it, radios it in, "Hey, these guys are innocent." He tells them to go home. They leave. And then at that point, we get to where he's looking at the Tiffany doll, then all of a sudden, this baby explodes out of this doll's vagina. And
like a fucking, it looked like a giant Nerf rocket launcher.
It was like if you took the chess scene from Alien, but moved it down here
on a doll,
the doll. Yeah. It
was definitely a rough moment, but it was funny and appreciated at the same time.
Yeah. No, it's great.
Yeah. So basically this movie though, I hadn't watched and I remember the first Child's Play. I don't remember much of the second or third one. This is the fourth installment.
See, my thing is I like 2 and 3 better than part 1. I like Bride better than 1 through 3. Bride, well, honestly, I think Bride may be one of my favorites. I love Seed of Chucky just as much as Bride. Cult of Chucky and Curse of Chucky, they're a bit more low budget, but I think they're fucking fantastic movies. And then obviously the Chucky series. I think the Chucky series is just top notch.
Well, what I was saying before you jumped in with your favorites in order was simply that thank you for getting me back into this. So I hadn't seen, I don't really remember it's part 2 or 3. I remember part 1. Saw this one, and so after I saw this one, I haven't started watching the ones that come after, but I did start watching the TV series, and I'm in like 4th or 5th episode, and I'm actually appreciating it. It's pretty fucking good. Definitely worth. I'm exploring this series. I'm exploring the very very low budget sequels to Starship Troopers. There's a few things I'm going to be exploring, so we'll.
So you finally started some of the sequels. Or you're getting ready to?
No, I started watching the series.
No, I was talking about the Starship Troopers.
No, I have them.
Okay.
But I haven't watched yet.
Yeah. I think if you rewatch all the Child's Play Chuckies and the series, you're going to be, especially if you kind of just are watching the series, you're going to be like, I got to go back and watch.
For sure.
Because it all ties back.
And that's any good writer that brings everything back in full circle. I can appreciate that too.
You've got so many returning characters from the original Child's Play, first 2 or 3 Child's Play movies. It's so much it ties back in, and they build, I think, more of a mythology behind the Charles Lee Ray character.
I would imagine if there's Cult of Chucky. So.
Well, I'm just talking about in the series.
Oh, okay.
Because they do a lot of flashback stuff. Okay. It's solid. Now, there's going to be a lot of you I know a lot of people that disagree with my love of the Chucky series because it does get really, I guess what people would say, woke.
Oh, really?
But one thing with the Chucky films, especially once you get to see the Chucky, you have Glenn and Glenda. And if you know that reference where they got the names, that was a Ed Wood film about a cross-dresser. So his son is named...
My first band was called Plan 9.
Okay. So you know where I'm going. Well, see to Chucky, the son that is born from Bride of Chucky, his name is Glenn. But he also has a split personality. His other personality is Glenda.
Okay.
So anybody that bitches about...
Oh, the halfsies. I remember this. Now it's coming back to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anybody that says the Chucky series is woke, you wasn't paying attention. You know, Chucky, and he's always been ahead of the curve when it comes to being very open to sexualities and things of that nature. And some of that dives in with Chucky. And it don't bother me because these films have always had it.
I don't care about woke.
I don't either.
Whatever you want to call it. The reality is that you can be a relic and a fossil and stay in the Stone Age if that's your thing. But times are moving forward, and times are changing, and there's different things out there now. And you know, it might not be your taste or your like, but it's someone's.
Yeah.
So if you don't like it, have a nice day, move along. We understand. But if you like it, cool.
Well, you know, and See to Chucky, I can't remember what year it came out, but it was definitely ahead of its time when it come to those type of issues. I mean, it was one of the, it was out there. I mean, they were pushing that boundaries long before a lot of these networks and film producers are doing what they're doing now. So they were doing this, you know, 15, 20 years ago when they did See to Chucky. So, yeah. Box office budget.
I got it.
You already looked at it?
I already have it written down.
Wow.
But I don't have it memorized, so I'm going to keep looking at you.
Oh, well, I have it. I just looked at it.
Well, so I have the budget and the box office.
Yeah, I've got both.
This was a great success.
This was.
Great success.
This was much better than my last pick, and I believe was it your first pick that lost money? On this one?
Event Horizon did, yeah.
Yeah. Event Horizon lost money.
Hellraiser did not.
Yeah. So
this one was, since you and I both know, $25 million budget. U.S. and Canada gross was 32.4 mil, and gross was 50.6.
Yeah, it did 18 million international, over 50 million. So I mean, this movie made $25 million.
Yeah.
So this movie knocked it out of the park, especially for a horror genre.
And it being not to be whatever but it is a niche fan base of Chucky people. Mm-hmm. So
and $25 million for a slasher horror film, that's a pretty big budget. Yeah. Let's be real. I mean,
I think they knew what they had. Like, if we're being honest, we had our Michael Myers, you had your Freddy and your Jason that owned the 80s, right? You get the 90s, and Chucky was kind of the 90s until we hit Scream.
Yeah.
And it went from there. So, like, in 2000s, I think, like, Samara from The Ring. Am I saying that right? Samara? Whatever. Mm-hmm. Samara from The Ring. Who else? Who are some other newer...
well, I mean, you had Hatchet.
Sam,
you had, like...
Trick or Treat.
Yeah, Sam. You had Hatchet, Victor Crowley. I mean, you had a lot of stuff that kind of spawned out.
But Chucky for the 90s, I feel like Chucky and Ghostface were it.
Oh yeah,
which is funny because those are year two.
Yeah, and I even said this when we did Scream that I think when Scream came out, it re-interested the slasher genre, which gave us Bride of Chucky, gave us See to Chucky, and so on. Like, I don't rightly know if we would have had Bride of Chucky if it wasn't for Scream. I mean, because Scream kind of rejuvenated that slasher genre.
Well, that's what I was kind of saying. Like, so to see a Bride of Chucky get $25 million for a budget, I think that's what you're saying. Like, that's the reason when only having those two and them needing a desperate grab into something horror for the 90s, they saw that Chucky's a successful entity. Let's roll.
Yeah.
And so they needed it. They needed to keep that going.
Well, and one thing I think that has always helped this series in particular, again, we're ixnaying the Child's Play that Mark Hamill voiced, the one that came out a few years ago. We're not counting that. But if you count...
No, I was saying we're not ixnaying that because Mark Hamill. Sorry.
It's not a bad movie, but it's just not part of this franchise.
It's not canon.
It's not. It's not canon. So
it was so serious.
I am, because it plays into what I'm getting ready to say. I have a Chucky phone case. From the first film all the way through the Chucky series, Don Mancini has wrote every one of these. And so you have the creator-writer that has stayed on board for every film and TV series. So it makes it a bit more cohesive.
Yes. I agree with you. I'm sorry. I just had a moment of clarity here.
Okay.
Brad Dourif. I had his name written on my paper. It is here, so I did not fuck that up.
Right next to Leslie.
Leslie was his name of his character in Jungle Fever. That was what it was.
Okay.
Sorry. It was driving me fucking insane. I'm like, I know I'm not that fucking stupid. Come on.
So this is from the very first of the episode. Now we're close to the end, and he's figured out
Full circle.
Who Leslie was.
Yeah, I was staring at it. I'm like, I'm going to go insane if I don't realize. And there's one other thing I didn't get to mention, too. This is so minor, and this is just my sadistic sense of humor. But when the marriage news popped up and Chucky starts laughing, I almost spit out my beer. I was drinking a beer and I watched it, and I was like, it was great. It was just a quality moment. Lots of good comedic relief in it.
Well, and that's all Child's Play movies. I think all the Child's Play and Chucky films. And you know why they're called Chucky now, not Child's Play?
Because of the licensing rights.
The license right between the studio. The studio owns the name Child's Play, but Don Mancini retained
Best
Chucky.
friends forever.
Yeah, so
good guys.
So that's why Don Mancini has Chucky, and that's why the other studio did that reboot Child's Play, because Don Mancini didn't have anything to do with that one.
So the funny thing about that, even though I love Mark Hamill, I refused to watch that because my wife saw it and she told me that it was garbage. And my wife she's not. Like, she is pretty straight up about stuff.
Yeah, so. I went to the theater and watched it.
Oh, really?
I did. I gave it a chance. I gave it a fair shot for two reasons. One, Mark Hamill voiced him. I love Mark Hamill.
Good voice actor, too. Besides acting.
Two, I watched an interview with Mark Hamill where he said the studio had asked him to voice Chucky, and his response to the studio was, "Why do you want me when Brad Dourif is here?" He said, "Brad Dourif is the voice of Chucky. You don't need me." And so they persisted and said, "Well, no, this is separate." And he said, "Well, okay, let me see the script." And when he read the script and realized it was so different, and it wasn't a serial killer that possessed a doll, and it was so different from what Don Mancini originally wrote for Child's Play, is when he decided, okay, I'll come in and do it, because this is a completely different take on the series. After that, I was like, okay, I'm going to give it a shot. I went to the theater, watched it. That's all I'm going to say about it.
All right.
So,
2 questions for you.
Okay.
Have you heard the rumor that they're going to make a Megan and Chucky crossover?
I have.
And what are your thoughts?
I have read. Actually, I read an article with Don Mancini, probably within this, it's probably last year at some point, where he was asked about that, and his response was, "I'd love to do it if we can get the story right." So, I don't think it could be bad, but at the same time, would it really work? I mean, you got an AI doll versus a...
I'm about to get real B-movie with you here, but Demonic Toys versus Puppet Master.
Yeah.
It'll work.
Yeah. There's also been questions of, are we going to send Chucky to space?
Please don't do that. Please,
So
it's funny too because we've talked about Hellraiser Bloodlines, and we talked about Jason X. We've talked about a lot of different stuff through the years.
Critters 4
through this year. Critters 4. Jesus Christ.
It's Critters in space.
Jesus. Well, that's where they're.
Yeah, but the movie takes it. Well, what's your second question?
The second question is, so my crossover that I would love to see more than anything wouldn't be Chucky and Megan. It would be Chucky and Sam. I would love to see something in a trick or treat Chucky fashion come to fruition.
I'm gonna one up you there.
Ooh.
If it could happen, and it will never happen, but if it could happen, and the story could be right, and you brought Robert Englund back, I think the one-liners between Krueger and Chucky could be outstanding. But I think you would have to do something weird like another Freddy versus Jason and throw Chucky in the mix, you know.
Yeah. And I could see that being better in that regard, but
to have the one-liners, could you imagine Chucky and Freddy Krueger spouting off at each other with their one-liners?
Or
even Chucky and Ash.
That could be funny. That's more.
Yeah.
I think that's more reasonable. I thought about on a darker, more realistic approach, Freddy versus Pinhead, because of how
that almost happened.
Really?
When the studio did Freddy versus Jason, it was either before Freddy versus Jason or after Freddy versus Jason. That was one of the things that they were pushing for, was a Freddy versus Jason versus Pinhead, along with the Freddy versus Jason versus Ash. Those two other films almost happened, and we never got them. And it's a damn shame.
At the very least, I would like to see some anime. Let's go.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing.
At least with the Freddy versus Jason versus Ash, we got that in comic form.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know. They might have did the Pinhead one in comic form too. We might have to look that one up because that was.
I'll find that if they did that.
Yeah. No, that really was a thing.
Okay. All right. Well.
Ratings.
Right. Your film. So I'm going to do this first. Bride of Chucky. Comedic relief was excellent. John Ritter was great. Katherine Heigl was great. A young Katherine Heigl at that. There are a lot of excellent points about this. A lot of cheesy points about this one. The football baby birth is mind-boggling. I'm gonna go 3.1 nerds.
So we're going. This is a Hellraiser thing here, isn't it?
Maybe. I don't know. Well, you're going real high, aren't you? Well, let's go. All right, let's go. What do you got?
So for me, this hits a lot of my points with, all the comedy, the one-liners. It has really decent gore in it. Now, this movie has some problems with CGI as well. I can admit that when they use CGI in this, some of it looked pretty rough. Then some of the CGI that they did, but all the practical effects look great. But I generally love this film. I love all the Chucky films. I will probably, let's see, I think I'm going to float around a 4.2.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah. I didn't go as high as you did with like your Hellraiser, but
yeah, I mean, if Hellraiser had the CGI or the claymation, whatever it was, in check, would have probably been a perfect one for me. but that was not happening.
So, but yeah, I mean, I rated that one a 3. You're giving this one a 3.1. So we're a little off on these two, where we were like dead on the other two movies we did with Late Night with the Devil and Event Horizon.
I think we both have the love for horror. We both have different expectations of what comes out of the horror. And that's not a bad thing. I like the conflict and more real aspects. I think you like a little more of the comedic relief.
No, I love the comedy.
Yeah, I get it. Makes total sense.
Yeah.
Now,
James is here. What the fuck did you make me watch? This makes no sense, JP. This is why would somebody possess a doll? This is dumb.
How could a doll come back to life?
How could a doll? Stupid. It's plastic.
And voodoo for dummies? Like.
Oh, love you, James. All right.
We are your CineNerds. I'm Ryan. Oh, wait.
I'm Ryan.
Jesus.
So we're starting this episode over now.
All the way over. No, this is the end of our 5 episodes we just did. We just recorded 5 episodes today. So forgive me for being a little fuzzy in the brain. Sorry. 3cinenerds@gmail.com is our email. Comments, suggestions, requests, anything. Email us at that, please, and throw us whatever you got. For your audio listening pleasures, you can find whatever streaming service you like of your choice through our link tree on our Facebook bio. And in that link tree as well, you can also see our merch store, so please check that out. And I'm going to say the same thing JP's going to say because I'm really going to drive this home. Please, please, please share. Spread the word. Help us out a little bit. We appreciate it.
Share, review, invite, repeat.
He keeps changing it every time.
I know. I can't remember what order I put it in. So, yeah.
But you get the gist.
Yeah, you get the gist. Write a review on our Facebook or Apple Podcasts. Give us a rating on Spotify. Write a comment on the YouTube channel. If you're listening on Apple, go to our YouTube, subscribe. If you're listening on the YouTube, go to our Apple, Spotify, click follow. Invite your friends. Sharing is caring.
Who the fuck is Martha Stewart?
Yeah.
We're your CineNerds. Peace.
Out.